Joey Grimm, hello.
Hi.
We just had a really, really lovely time in the clubhouse. So I took some, I always take notes, and I wanted to just use today as a little kind of summary of some of the amazing things that we talked about. So our topic was building romance through kink. And I've got so many takeaways from hanging out with you. I always do. And let's start with your lovely PRICK mnemonic that you've got and what that means to you. Oh, you've got wow. Okay,
So
that's amazing.
that is personally responsible, informed, consensual kink.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Tick, tick, tick. Yeah.
Tick, tick, tick. And just, some of the things we were talking about in terms of well, the last thing that got mentioned was the difference between Bratz and topping from the
Yeah.
bottom, which is something that I hadn't thought about that difference actually.
Yeah. So that's something that, again, there's such a fine line between having somebody show up to a scene and brat and push too far. I often find that, like, I personally do not work well with brats because of the way that I practice, but my experience of brats is that they are coming to a scene with a need for interaction and attention in a way that normal bottoms don't crave. And again, like I had mentioned in the class, the main difference that I have found in my experience with them is that a brat is wanting to push and be loved anyway. So they come and they want to challenge you in agreed ways, like this is all consensual and within the agreements, but they want to be able to challenge things and know what types of reactions they're going to get and know that you're going to love them no matter what kind of pushing that they do. And that goes for dominance as well, right? Like, as a dom, you come into a scene and you have like your parameters and you have the things you've agreed to, but you want to know that you can be creative within those things and that your submissive is going to come out liking you as a person in the end. So
Yeah.
I think it's really the same goal that they're trying to reach. But topping from the bottom feels very uncomfortable. And I had somebody recently explain to me that when you are in a power exchange dynamic and the power is unequal, so you have your dominant and you have your submissive and the exchange is there. Once that topping from the bottom has happened, or once a disrespectful engagement has happened, something needs to happen to reestablish that power imbalance. And often that can be a struggle. So you've got somebody who's coming to the scene and they have topped from the bottom because they don't understand submission, or they don't understand how to bottom appropriately and what respect looks like in that type of scenario. Or you have somebody who stepped into a scene and we walked across a trauma landmine and they had a trauma response, right? Either way, you have to come out of that scene and reestablish where that imbalance lies if you want that power exchange to exist. You can't come to a scene on equal footing and expect there to be an equal or an inequality of power when you haven't spoken about it or reestablished it or done something to try and to reestablish that imbalance.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really good way to put it.
That's a really good way. Yeah, I really like that. I really like as well, I'm just referring to my notes here. I really like the things that we were talking about in terms of transferable skills, so the stuff that has really come up around trust and safety and how through growing those, in the kink world, you've really expanded them in your life as well in terms of what is okay and what isn't okay. And I love that idea of being able to practice these areas, that have grown for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and the example that I had given was the really common protocol that you come across in kink space and at public parties, where you'll see established dynamics and the dominant and the submissive. If you want to speak to the submissive, you have to ask permission from the dominant first. So that's the example that I gave of like a misconception from the outside, that looking like the dominant is being controlling, right? Like the dominant is telling you who and who you can't speak to, and that's not an okay thing in our everyday life. But from the inside, what you're actually seeing is a collaborative experience that they have negotiated, because that experience allows them to do things like stop and decide whether they want to talk to people, to try and avoid fawning, to actually stop and consider the types of interactions that they're having at public events before they respond, and to have someone that they trust stand in between them and those other people until they have a chance to make that decision, just giving them a little bit of a buffer zone. And that's practice, right? And then on the other side of that, it's giving the dominant some practice in saying no, in setting boundaries for somebody else, which is something that a lot of us have troubles doing on our own for ourselves. So once you have that practice, can you then take that practice and then have it kind of spill over into your everyday life, right?
Yes. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a little 10-minute. I mean, everyone, you missed an amazing chat. You really did. If people want to find out more about your work, where can they find you, Joey?
Oh, they can find me at Solo Cycle on Instagram. So solo.cycle.polyamory at Instagram.com. Or you can find me, I'm going to be posting a webpage, which will be solocyclepolyamory.com. And it's not quite ready to be posted yet, but it's in the works. And then you can find me on Tumblr, which is Solo Cycle Polyamory. You can also find me on FetLife, but I would maybe ask you to message me privately for that handle.
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant. Thank you so much. It's been great hanging with you, and we will be having you back again, hopefully. Yay.
Hopefully.